All right, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the LoudMouth MMA podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Steele. Today, we're doing an interview with Mr. Kajan Johnson. Hello, sir.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. So the first thing I want to do, because I haven't looked up anything about you, so this might be
cool.
very common knowledge, but I don't know.
All good.
Is your real name Kajan?
My real name is actually Kajan, but I got dubbed Ragin' Cajun when I was very young, and the name stuck. So now, if I want to keep Ragin', I have to keep Cajun. So I have two names.
Or you just have to mispronounce Ragin'.
Yeah, exactly. We should Ragin' Cajun.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't really have the same ring to it. You know what I mean?
It doesn't work. I don't know if Bruce Buffer would be down for that.
No, definitely not. No.
So, but is Kajan spelled the same, or
yes, it's spelled.
So
the
it's
same.
just a
Kajan.
pronunciation thing.
Yeah, exactly. People have been mispronouncing my name since I was a very young child, so I'm completely used to it, and will have long since stopped correcting them.
Sure. My guess is that that's some type of French.
No.
Okay.
No,
what is
actually,
it?
Vancouver is not French.
It's not, because you're all the way in. That's like on the coast. You're on the west coast.
Yeah, we're West Coast. Yeah.
Okay.
All of the French is on the east side,
Coast,
so
yeah.
anywhere from it starts around like in Ontario, some places, and then moves on through Quebec and New Brunswick and Nova Scotia.
Okay. So, do you have any idea where the name came from? It's just an interesting name. It's a
very
good
interesting name,
yeah.
right? My parents actually kind of half created it. Like they took it from Cajun, and then they just changed the pronunciation.
Okay, sure. So we're back to square one here.
Exactly. Right?
Everyone's mispronouncing everything.
Yeah, totally.
But it works though.
I like it.
When you also have a name Cajun, which is such a good name, and then it's followed up with Johnson.
Yeah,
so there's just a dichotomy there. Yeah,
right. I know. Yeah, I've like thought about actually changing my last name here and there throughout my life, because I've never been hugely fond of it. But it's just a headache, and I'm not worried about it. You know,
you should change it to Ragin', so that way you just go Ragin' Cajun Ragin'.
Sounds like a lot of work to me.
It's a lot of work, and it's probably not super necessary. I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was blessed with the last name Steele. So
yeah, that's pretty gangster.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And my son is named Henry. So he could theoretically. I mean, I hope not. I really don't want people to call him Hank. But if people do call him Hank, his name will be Hank Steele. Which
that's
super
serious.
Legit. That's super legit. Yeah.
That's like you're either an action star or a porn star. One or the other.
Oh, and his other name was going to be. I wanted to name him Jack. But
Jack Steele would have been serious.
Right? But my wife didn't want it because she was like, well, you can't just name him Jack. You'd have to name him Jackson.
What? No.
See,
you can name him whatever you want.
See, that's what I'm saying. She's like, no, because you can't name him Jack.
That's a shortening.
That's what I'm saying. She's like, you can't do that because Jack isn't a real name. It'd be Jackson.
It is.
And I was like,
if you name somebody it, then it's a real name.
We could name him Drew.
If you
wanted to name a child Drew.
You can name a child a single letter.
You could. Absolutely.
and that's a name because you named him that.
If Kanye can name his child Northwest, then I can do whatever I want.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
I've never wanted to follow such constraints.
I know. Well, that was my thing too. I'm like, it's a good name. She's like, well, no, because Jackson. And I was like, I don't get why you're fixated on this thing. But I guess to be fair, because we have a daughter too who was born first.
Okay.
And I didn't want to name her Grace because I thought the name Grace Steele would be really hard to say.
Yeah, I understand that. Grace Steele. It sounds like Gray Steel.
It sounds like Gray Steel, right? That's literally what I said. Which would
That's
be a cool name.
That's what you guys should have named her.
We should have named her Gray.
That would have been. You totally should have named her Gray. That would have been wicked.
All right, we can change it now. She won't be too confused. Yeah. She's only 3. She won't know. She has no idea.
She'll never know.
She has no idea. All right. Well, we got you here, so we at least need to talk a little bit about fighting. But before we do so, I want to talk about the podcast because that is how I have become more familiar with you.
Nice.
Obviously, the big win, which we'll talk about. I think really well. It started at the retreat. Really, I think the retreat You made a little name for yourself, right? Whether
thing.
intentionally or unintentionally, you made a name there, and then you followed up that with a big win, which is what you. That's how this works. If you do something, you get in the spotlight, you got to use it, and then you get a big win, and then you start doing the podcast with Shaq.
Yeah,
I love it. I think the first you guys asked my question on the first. You guys did like a little like Q&A, like ask me anything.
Yeah, that was one of yours.
So you might recognize the question. It was
which was it?
It was why does Pluto walk on 4 legs, but Goofy walks on 2 legs?
That was a good question.
I heard it somewhere down the line.
Yeah,
and
I was stumped.
I saw that my buddy Aaron, who you may know him as Ally
Aaron.
Quinta.
Yes, I know Aaron.
I saw that he was a part of this Ask Me Anything thing, so I was like, all right, I'll pop in there real quick. But it's a great podcast.
Awesome.
It's a great production, and obviously you guys. I mean, you had Rory on not that long ago, which is that's a big deal. Rory's legit, up, man. You're coming on up, moving on up.
Yeah, little by little, consistency.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I really do, man. It's a lot of fun. I'm actually parked out in front of the studio right now. I gotta start here in about 15 minutes.
Oh, very cool. And you guys do you go live every time on Facebook?
No, we don't go live. It's actually not, the video doesn't even come up as soon as we release the original podcast.
Okay, sure.
We shoot on Tuesday and then we release it on Thursday.
Okay,
and then the video will usually come up on the weekend or something.
Okay, because I had never watched it live. I just saw that it's on the face. It's uploaded to Facebook at some point.
Yes.
So I thought that was originated as a live feed. But you could still, there's a way, there's some really simple software where you can actually pre-record something and then run it live, which would help with interactions.
Yeah, that would be dope.
So there you go. It's a software called Ecamm. What I'm recording you with right now is called Ecamm. And
Ecamm.
It's called Ecamm. You can only use it on Mac, though. They don't make it for anything other than Mac. So as long as you have a Mac, you can use it, and it's like $30, man. It's like $30.
Oh wow!
Super cheap, and the add-on's like $20, so it's like $50 total.
Cool.
And like I said, it allows you to pre-record a video and then hold on to it for any length of time, and then you upload the video, hit play, and it runs on your Facebook like a live video. So all that does is just, instead of uploading a video where it's going to get buried quickly, by having it on the live function, it'll pop up in people's feeds while it's live. So you'll just get more clicks, more views, more interaction initially.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's super easy and cheap.
Okay, I'll check that out.
I'll talk to Shaq.
Yeah, do that. Shaq's the man to make that happen.
I'll talk to Shaq. We'll make it happen.
Sick.
So yeah, I mean, I guess, are you? I mean, obviously, doing a podcast is not transitioning out of anything really. But
no,
I mean, where do you see this going? I mean, what's your ultimate goal? Because that's something people ask me, right? Because I podcast and.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of fun, and I'm going to keep doing it. And
it's not fun.
I'm open to it going wherever it needs to go. I never try to really force anything to be something. If people like it, they're gonna listen. If people don't, they're not gonna listen. I enjoy doing it, so I'm gonna keep doing it, and it seems to be slowly building a bit of a fan base. So I think that eventually it's gonna turn into something. I don't see why it wouldn't. So yeah, I'm excited.
And it takes time, and as long as you're in the position to be patient. I mean, some people get into it. Listen, these podcasts, I've only been doing this for a year and a half, and it's been incredible the amount of turnover that I've witnessed in just such a short amount of time. Podcasts, they come and they go, man. People, they get amped up, and then they leave, and a lot of it has to do with patience. Well, you're in a position where you can be patient. You don't need to rush.
Exactly.
You already got a gig, man. Like, you're good.
Yeah, several.
So you're good. I mean, other people, they get a little impatient because, I don't know, for one reason or another.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm really lucky. The situation that I've been able to attract is with Shaq. He pretty much runs the whole thing, man. Like, really, like, it's his podcast more than mine. Like, we both collaborate with ideas for what we want to talk about for the show, and but like, he does all of the legwork, dude. He does the scheduling. He deals with any software issues that we have. He deals with the whole thing. I pretty much am like a permanent guest on it. So I'm super grateful to him and his dedication and And I think as long as we're able to keep going like this, like I can keep doing this forever, because it's like an hour, 2 hours out of my day once a week. It's nothing.
Yeah, for sure. When you, I was just thinking, well, I'll save that for later. So real quick, let's transition into fighting.
Okay.
Obviously, you're coming off a 3-fight win streak here. The last win, I think, being the most notable. I mean, you put a gigantic exclamation point, and it was against an opponent that I personally was really questioning. I mean, that's a tough dude, and
he's
given
not an
his
easy fight for sure.
No, and given his BJJ background, I was a bit nervous. And you went in there and you handled business, and then they gave you what would have been another killer and a significant step up in Rustam Kabalov. That fight has fallen through. You have unfortunately, you have since then rebooked against Stevie Ray.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, it's a better fight. So I'm cool with it.
More fun.
It's more fun. It's way more fun, right? I'm not going to say, like, I'm not going to be like, I'm like fat sitting in my chair podcasting in my basement. I'm not going to talk about who's better than who, but it's clearly a funner fight.
Yeah, it's just different. It's not better or worse.
It is different,
it's just
though.
Different.
I mean, have you already kind of adjusted in your mind? Because you obviously have been training for someone. I mean, this is night and day here, just about. I mean, it's like these guys are polar opposites. So mentally, you've adjusted to the fact that, okay, we're doing this new thing now. Totally.
Yeah. Well, I never, because I've gotten exploited a little bit in the past when I would train only specifically for one specific opponent and how he's fought in the past.
Of course.
I like when I fought Tai Hyun Bang, I was training for a southpaw the entire time, which he had always been in all of his fights. He'd been a southpaw, and then he came out and fought the entire fight orthodox, and it really threw me for a loop. So now I train less to fit one specific opponent. Now I do game plan a lot heavily, and I will train to nullify my opponent's strengths. But while I'm doing that, I'm still making sure that I'm working all of my game. If I'm fighting an orthodox guy, I still work against southpaws. I still work against orthodox. I make sure I'm doing everything on both sides. And that way, if I get a last-minute change or the guy comes out and fights completely different, because sometimes people will do that, then I'm not taken aback and I'm not getting put in a position where I'm kind of exposed,
Well, and I think a lot of fighters realize that they have tendencies. Their camps know it. They themselves know it. So if they know it, it's easy to assume that your opponent is going to know it too.
Exactly.
And you could also, information leaks out. Right? You don't know how, you don't know why, you don't know who, but stuff gets out. Hey, man, he's kind of only training for this thing, and then they get wind of that, and all of a sudden they're changing everything. So I mean, it's like you have to have a little bit of. I mean, I'm not a fighter, but obviously you got to have a little bit of both. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, you got to be flexible. You got to be ready to adapt in any situation. And in order to have those adaptations possible, you have to be working the full spectrum of your technique. You got to have everything from everywhere, just in case it might come in handy. You never know when you're going to need things. So I always try to train my full game, and regardless of the opponent. But that being said, I have done a lot of study on this guy. I trained with him in the past, and I can see some holes in the system. So I am training to exploit those holes. But that's not all I'm training, right?
Of course, of course. Listen, because you got to surprise too. Because if you've trained with him, it means guess what? He's trained with you.
Me, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it works both ways.
Totally. Although I do think that I have changed a lot more since training with him than he has changed since training with me.
Yeah, and that could very well be true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I have a question, because I had noticed on your record that you had taken. You had two kind of bigger gaps in your career within recent. So one was getting into the UFC. There was almost a 3-year gap there. Yeah. What's the story there?
So I fractured my orbital, my right orbital. My left orbital. I fractured the right orbital in 2005. I fractured my left orbital when I was training for a fight. And then I had to have multiple surgeries for that to try to correct the vision. Vision never came back 100%. So I have like double vision in specific ranges of my eye movement. Yeah, but it's all good. I've learned to adapt.
Sure.
But yeah, that took me a while to come back from. Took me like about a year and a half, where I wasn't able to really train properly, and then I had another year or so where I was able to train and was looking for fights, but just no one would fight me. I was at the stage where I had so many fights that it wasn't worth it for somebody to fight me, and because they're trying to get to the UFC, right? So they weren't trying to fight somebody with 30 fights. They were trying to fight some guy that's like 6-0, 7-0, or something like that. Beat that dude, and then it looks good. You fight a guy with 30 fights, but he's like 19-11. It doesn't look bad if you lose, but it doesn't. It's not as much to win, and it's more dangerous, right? People had known that I was training at TriStar. So the name TriStar always scares people, especially in Canada.
Right.
So there were a number of factors, but the main one was the injury, and then trying to come back after that, trying to find a fight.
And then, of course, you had about a 2-year layoff before your last fight. And what was that?
Yeah, so I fought in Japan. I ended up tearing my shoulder, my labrum, and my rotator cuff, and that took about a year to rehab. And because it took a year to rehab, I wasn't able to use that arm for quite some time. So I wasn't really able to make money in Montreal. I wasn't able to fight anymore. So that was my main source of income in Montreal was my fight purses. So without them, I was exposed, right? So I had to make a change in my lifestyle, and I decided to move home. And then it worked out that I was able to collaborate with one of my friends and open up TriStar Vancouver, and that took some time to build that business and to deal with all the headaches that go along with building a fight gym, until it got to the stage where it was stable enough that I could now start looking for a fight, and in a pretty stress-free environment, so it just took some time. But it all worked out, and now we have a good stable of guys, and the gym's going really well, and I'm at a place where I'm able to fight a little bit more often.
Wonderful, man. Well, I mean, it sounds like everything's getting back on course here. Would definitely wish you luck in not having any type of flare-ups. But
thank you.
I mean, obviously you had the eye repaired, and like the actual bone itself, right? You talked about the vision having issues there still, but obviously the bone hasn't been an issue in 6 years, 7 years. So,
the bones are all plated. Everything that I've broken in my face, which is quite a lot actually.
So I would imagine
it's all gotten plated, and I've never had any reoccurring injuries.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
So, once it's metal, that shit is fucking solid.
Yeah, man. Well, and the thing too, like, even getting tears and stuff. I mean, it all comes down to mental. I mean,
totally.
You're good. Everything's healed. Everything's good. There's no. It's kind of a myth that once you tear something, it's easier to tear the next time. It really doesn't work that way.
No,
if you repair something properly, you're good.
Exactly,
but it's mental.
It's mental, and it's physical too. It's just the action of taking the time that is necessary and doing the work that is necessary, because it's very, very tedious type of work that you need to be doing, and somewhat painful as well type of work that you need to be doing to rehab something like a shoulder tear. So it's taking the time to do that and making sure it's solid before going back. Yeah, but patience is huge.
Yeah, I mean, we started the podcast by just name dropping patience and podcasting, and we will end that way too. I mean, patience is key for pretty much everything in your life. Just
everything
being patient,
in life, bro.
Letting it happen. All right, cool, man.
Exactly.
Well, if there's anything you want to plug the podcast, tell us where we can find it. Tell us where we can find you on social media. Anything else you want to plug? The floor is yours.
Awesome, man. Thank you. So my podcast, Ragin' MMA Podcast, you can find it on Instagram at the Ragin' MMA Podcast. You can find it on Twitter at Ragin' MMA Podcast. And then you can find me on Twitter at I am Ragin'. You can find me on Instagram at the Ragin1, THARAGIN, the number 1. And then you can find my gym on Instagram, TriStar_Vancouver, as well as on Twitter, TriStar_Van City. And then also check out this new CBD company that I've been working with, Receptra. They're amazing, dude. Like, top of the line tinctures. They've got topicals. They just came out with a lip balm. They've got body butters. It's really, really legit. I've found a lot of benefits from using this product. And they are on Twitter and Instagram at Receptra MMA.
Awesome, man. Well, enjoy recording your podcast.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kyle.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Okay, definitely.